Hello, this is Timothy Bond with True Bond Publishing Company, and you're watching the next episode of The Right Change, where our guest today is Wesley Hall, author of Not Human. Wesley, how you doing today, man?
Hey, Tim, I'm doing really good. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. I'm excited to have you on the show. You know, it's good to know also that you also are a podcast host. So this is nothing new to you.
Right.
So we'll talk about that and everything that you got going on. I always like to start the show off thanking especially my clients. Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of your dream, your vision, and you bringing your book to life. And so excited to have those books in your hand. We have books being shipped out to you in the next coming days. So I know you're excited about that. I'm excited. So let's talk to the people and tell everybody about who is Wesley Hall.
I run the Underground Geek Shack podcast, and so we talk about anime, video games, try to give like a real world spin onto it. And yeah, I will be putting out an announcement soon that my book is coming out.
Awesome. So you got into podcasting, and you have a passion for, sounds like anime and fantasy. What's that passion? Tell us about what your passion is.
So the way, because I watched anime back when I was like growing up, and so like throughout the years I was like, all right, cool, what can I do with this? And it was like I was living with my aunt and uncle, and when my mom was in the military, and she sent a letter to me and my brother, but the letter that I got from her, she was like, okay, look, you need to figure out what you want to do. If you want to be a writer, like she's like, you like reading so much, why don't you become a writer? If you like anime, why don't you go into, art and illustration? And something clicked, and I was like, all right, I'm a picker. Let me take some of the books off the bookshelf. Let me go through, see what I like. And I fell in love with Rick Riordan's books, the Percy Jackson series and stuff like that. And then I was like, okay, look, if he can write a book, why can't I try and write a book? And so I was like, all right. So I started tinkering around with different characters in my head and everything. And the rest is pretty much history. I started getting into fantasy a lot more, trying to figure out what different like writing styles I wanted to go for. And like I just fell in love with fantasy because I was like, okay, I can bring more of that into what I like to do. And then I added the anime aspect onto it because I was like, all right, I know action from anime, let's try and put that into a book sense. And that's how that came to be.
Okay. So your book, talk to us about your new book. And this is your first book, right?
Yeah, this is my first book that I'm putting out into the world, and it's called Not Human, and it's a collection of short stories in which each individual story that kind of weave in between each other. But the thing is that each character is a little bit self-aware, but it's like not too much to the point where it's like, okay, you can't enjoy the book. But they know a little bit about what's going on in the actual world, and then you just see their day-to-day lives that's going on. It's like, okay, this is what led up to kind of this point. How can they overcome different obstacles in their life? And it's like, all right, if they can overcome their obstacles, how can I achieve my own steps and try to move on with whatever I'm trying to go through. So
that's cool, man. And I don't want to give any spoilers. But as I was reading, I was wondering, man, are these the same people finding themselves in different situations? Don't answer that. Don't answer that.
I'll let the readers figure that
You
one
let
out.
let the readers figure it out. But it's definitely, man, really creative, really creative. How do you even come up with this stuff, man? Like, what is your process? What is your writing process? This would be great for people, especially for fiction writers. What is your writing process? How do you come up with this stuff?
So the way I come up with majority of my stories is, it's funny because like I love listening to music, and so like I listen to like dubstep and stuff like that, and so most of my friends recommend me different songs, and so I'll listen to the song like twice, and then I'll come up with an interesting idea for a story, and I'll be like, okay, this is an interesting idea. Let me tell a friend, and they'll be like, that's an interesting idea. How about you add on to that? And then it'll just snowball into a story. And I'm just like, okay, I can roll with this. And then it goes from one short story idea to eventually an entire almost novel in my head. And I'm like, where am I gonna go with this? And so if you can actually like plot out the points, then you're like, all right, you kind of have like your own little odyssey kind of journey. So you're like, I think I have a good making of a story here. Let's go and put this down on paper. It might be tough at first, but then the more you actually enjoy writing it down and seeing where your characters actually go, don't sit here and try to, okay, I know where point A is going to go. I know where character B is going to go. I usually let the characters like walk themselves, and I'm just the guy behind the camera just following them.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing one of my creative writing professors said. He was like, don't sit here and try to drag your characters along. He was like, you're the one writing down their story. You're the one you're actually the journalist in the story. And so I was like, that's an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah. I found that as well. I took a creative writing course in college many years ago. You were probably not even a thought when I took my class. But we had 2 assignments. We had to write short stories, and it was such an amazing experience because the characters were basically doing their own thing, and I would find myself realizing why a character did something 3 chapters back, and I'm three chapters into it. I'm like, oh, that's why he did that,
Yeah.
Do you find that happening as well?
Oh yeah, because like I'll be writing something, and then I'm like, all right, in my mind I'm like, I know where I want this character to go, and then the character will just take me for a left turn, and I'm like, I was not expecting you to do that. I did not like let's say like you have a character sitting at a table in a coffee shop, right? And then you're like, okay, the character's gonna get up, walk out the door. No, the character gets up, goes to the back of the kitchen, starts doing something else, and you're like, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah. It's an amazing experience. And I know people who've not done any creative or literary fiction, they probably think that we're just talking out of the side of our necks, but it really does happen like that. It's like if you just sit down and just let your fingers type, you'll find these characters doing something. I tell people all the time, the story, you're just a conduit for the story. The story is telling itself. You just have to be the conduit to just let it flow out of you. What's been your biggest challenges? Because I know for me, I enjoyed that fiction writing, and in fact, my story was so good. My professor, like, he's instead of teaching that day, and I'm not bragging, I'm serious. Instead of teaching that day, he asked me to read what I wrote, but I just don't see myself as a literary writer. Do you deal with inferiority complex? What are some of your challenges as a writer?
Like for me, like it feels like anytime I write something, I feel like, oh, I'm not good enough to write this. It feels like kind of like you're like having like that imposter syndrome. Yeah. And I'm just like, nope, I can't do this. But then I have to because like, you are your own worst critic, and so it's like I'm more hard on myself than anyone else, and I'm like, all right, if I can write this story, even if it's just a character moment, then I'm like, all right, let's at least get down this character moment and then take a step back, see what else you need to do, and then just take it one step at a time. Just and like with like, even if it is just a short story, you take it one moment at a time. And because the way I've learned is it's just a brief moment that's happening for these, for these characters. And I'm like, okay, it's a brief moment that's happening. What's a brief moment in my life that, that I can like draw from? And I'm like, okay, I figured it out. Let's do that. So
yeah, this book is a book of short stories. Was this kind of like dipping your toe in the water? Do you have some bigger novels that you just want to see how this works first? What's the future in your literary journey?
So this was actually a test. I wanted to see because I took a whole bunch of short stories that I wrote back in college, and I was like, all right. And my mom was just like, hey, you got to do something with these. She's like, you're littering the place up. You got to do something with them. And so I was like, all right. So I decided let's just compact these into a nice little format. Let's try and turn this into a book. And so I was like, all right. And then I have a couple more stories that I want to, like, actual longer stories that I want to actually get it out. And so I'm still in the process of working on those. And I'm like, all right, let's put this out as a test, see how it works. And if it does well, then Wes, you in the right place.
Yes, exactly. Well, it seems like doors are already starting to open as you're getting invited to speak at schools.
Right.
So looking at where you have come from and the different things you've learned up to this point, what kind of advice would you give someone who's, starting out like you or probably dealing with the same fears? What advice would you give aspiring writers?
The advice I would give would be it's gonna be hard at first. Like you take that first step and you're gonna be nervous at first, but the more practice you put into it, the more time you spend, just let your characters just feel what your characters feel, do what your characters do. If your character wants to, I don't know, go horseback riding for a day, just let them do it. Just follow your characters the way you would follow your parents. Like when you're a kid, you follow your parents around, you're observing every single thing. So basically do that for your characters. You observe them every step of the way. And whether you know it or not, you will actually grow a little bit more attached to them day by day. And then to the point where they literally become your kids and you're just like, I don't want you to deal with me anymore. Please leave.
It's time for you to move out. So talk to us about your podcast and the other creative things you have going on.
So yeah, I run, like I said before, I run the Underground Geek Shack podcast, and we just put out our special episode talking about a anime film. Well, we call it an anime film. It didn't really go the way we wanted it to.
Okay.
And but yeah,
wait. So is this a film you all created or what?
No. So it's a film. It was a film that we went to the movie theater to watch.
Oh, okay.
And so we all thought that it was a film, and it turned out to only be the last 2 episodes of the TV show, and then the first episode of the new season. And we were like, why? But like, because it's because I'm the one who runs the podcast, because I'm the editor, I'm the one who gets everything set, so I'm the host of it. And then I have my 2 co-hosts, my friend Kashina and my friend Shane, who also come in from time to time to give in their opinions on it. And so we basically, because my friend Shane and I are the writers of the we call ourselves the writers of the Geek Shack, and then my friend Kishina is the artist of the Geek Shack. So we go from seeing it from a artist's perspective and a writer's perspective to sometimes just a writer's perspective, and then see how the story actually can progress from, hey, the anime stopped at episode 12. Where can we go from there? We like butting heads a couple times.
Oh yeah. How long have y'all been doing this?
We've been doing this for, I want to say, maybe we started it back in July of 2020.
Okay.
So
where did the name come from?
So originally we were known as In Between the Lines, and then we had to change it due to some legal issues. And so we were trying to come up with, I was trying to come up with names for like a good 5 months, and I was like, I nothing was sticking, and so we were throwing paint at the wall trying to figure out what stuck, and then somebody was like, how about I wrote out a name and it was just called the Geek Shack, and I was just like, okay, that works. And then I sent it to my friend Kashina, and she was like, how about you add underground to that? And I was like, the Underground Geek Shack. And then I was like, all right, that works.
I can see, it sounds like you are big on collaboration, and it sounds like you got a really good team, a support team that really helps you to create.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great, man. Well, man, I have enjoyed this. How can people get in contact with you and learn more about you?
If you want to find the podcast, which is the best way to find me, it is on Spotify, it's on Podbean, Google Podcasts. I'm trying to get it out everywhere. I am also on Facebook too. Just type in Wesley Hall. You'll find me.
Okay.
I have an Instagram, but I rarely use my Instagram. I need to get back into using my Instagram.
Well, Instagram, TikTok, these are powerful tools for you.
Yeah.
Wesley, I've enjoyed this conversation. I want everyone out there, please like and share this video. Let's get the word out about Wesley Hall and his book, and the first of many to come, we hope and believe.
Tim, it was great coming on. And for your viewers out there, please stop by, say hi, and come and see the Underground Geek Shack.
Awesome. You have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.